Hey everybody, I'm Carl Lanning, Brazos River Charter School with This Week in History, specifically the week of August the 16th through 22nd. Well, on August the 18th of 1590, one of the great mysteries of American history began. 3 years after the second attempt to establish a colony at Roanoke off of the coast of North Carolina, John White, its leader, returned. Now, 3 years prior, he had returned to England to try and retrieve supplies for what was very much a suffering colony. He was delayed because of a war between the Spanish and the English. So, his wife, his child, and his grandchild, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World, were there. When he arrived, however, there was no evidence of a battle. There was no evidence of a natural disaster. Roanoke simply looked abandoned. Now, White did discover the word Croton carved into a gatepost. He also saw the letters CRO carved into a tree. And he took this to mean that they had gone to an island. Today it'd be called Hatteras Island. After several failed attempts to get there, Hatteras, a little bit to the south of Roanoke, there's Hatteras. After quite a struggle to get there, this is the replica of his ship. The ship's anchor was lost. There was an oncoming storm. There may have been a mutiny, and basically he was forced to turn back. In England, due to some rather shadowy political reasons, no serious attempt was ever made to try and find out what happened. Now, there are numerous theories. The leading ones are that the settlers at Roanoke either went north to the Delaware Bay area, or they did go to Hatteras Island and were eventually assimilated by the Indians. The Jamestown settlers, who came 20 years later, did say that the Indians had told them stories of pale strangers who showed up amongst them years before. But there's no real proof of this. On Hatteras Island, there has been a great deal of archaeology done lately, and they found a number of items that would be from the right time, most of them being English, but there's a number of different ways they could have gotten there. So as of yet, there's no real proof as to exactly what happened. So the lost colony of Roanoke is, for the moment, still lost. On August the 18th of 1842, I mentioned this young man last week. This, of course, is a young Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was challenged to a duel. Lincoln was not only a lawyer, but was also active in local and state politics, and got into what would become a very, very public dispute with a man named James Shields, who was the state auditor over monetary policy. Lincoln wrote a letter under the pen name of Rebecca that was printed in the local Springfield newspaper, and it was a wonderful, wonderful letter. It's very funny, it's very witty, it also chastises, shames, and taunts Mr. Shields. So Shields didn't appreciate it too much. Eventually, Shields found out who Rebecca actually was. He demanded a retraction, and Lincoln refused. At that point, he challenged Lincoln to a duel, which would occur in Missouri, where dueling was still legal. Now, since Lincoln was the one challenged, he had the privilege of choosing the weapons. And so what he chose was cavalry broadswords, quote, of the largest size. Now, he later said, I didn't want that damn fellow to kill me, which I think he would have done if it had been pistols. Lincoln had a plan. See, he was 6'4", Shields was 5'9". He didn't want to kill Shields, and he believed that using the long swords and given his height advantage and reach advantage, he would probably be able to disarm me. That's what he was hoping for. Well, when the day they met, there was actually a plank put on the ground between them so they couldn't approach anybody any closer than the length of that particular plank. Lincoln reached up and cut a rather sizable limb off the tree above Shields and Lincoln's and Shields' head, demonstrating not only his quite substantial strength, but his very substantial reach. Shields decided they would talk the matter out, and they did. It was settled. Years later, by the way, when Lincoln was president, James Shields was a brigadier general in the Union Army. James Shields is the man who handed Stonewall Jackson his only defeat. Now, unfortunately, Shields was mortally wounded in that battle, but Lincoln put Shields in for promotion to Major General posthumously. So I guess there were no hard feelings. And last but not least, on August the 19th of 1977, Groucho Marx died at the age of 86. I love Groucho Marx. Marx started vaudeville and Broadway, made 26 movies, 13 of them with his brothers, and was absolutely unforgettable as the host for 11 years of the TV show You Bet Your Life. I would like to share a few Groucho-wisms with you if you don't mind. Alimony is like buying hay for a dead horse. I've had a perfectly wonderful evening, but this wasn't it. The secret of life is honesty and fair dealing. If you can fake that, you've got it made. I have nothing but respect for you, and not much of that. And finally, he may look like an idiot, and he may talk like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. All right, that's it for this week in history, but let you know what's coming up. Next week, we will learn why this is the only U.S. Navy bathtub ever, and who it was for. Thanks for viewing. I'm Carl Lanning, Brazos River Charter School, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week.